She's a fucking delight. Trial watching, trials and tribulations. It's Camp Shorty calling all nations. What are you drinking? Shall we skip this part? Left or right-handed? Shit, she slid it to the start. She's a fucking professional. No, goddammit. You're muted, what? And daring, it's iconic. Cheese breaks, fake breaks, staying hydrated. It's shorty time. She's a fucking delight. Psychology corner. Let's learn about stuff. New Miss Shorty music. Calling their bluff. Best chat, best community. We've got the best mods. A safe, supportive sanctuary full of fun and love. Rock out with your cats out. Curse all you want. And here at Camp Shorty, we even say cut. She's a fucking professional. You goddammit. You're muted, what? And daring, it's iconic. Cheese breaks, fake breaks, staying hydrated. It's shorty time. She's a fucking delight. Hey, shorties, what's doing, y'all? Get in here, shorties. Let's fucking go. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty.
Hey, shorties. Hi, hi. Hi, hi. 2 in the morning where you are, Vixie. In the UK. In the UK. Hi, I'm just here on listen mode still. Love you all. Thank you for being here. You listen and lurk, my good friend. No pressure ever. No pressure ever. Unless it's gentle Joe Flex back pressure or firm Joe Flex back pressure. Hey, Poppy. Good to see you. Poppy's here. Buster's curled up on the bed because he's a gentleman and a scholar, and he doesn't care that it's laundry day and the sheets are being washed. In fact, he quite liked it. He scrunched up the sheepskin mattress protector cover thing to give himself some cozy bed because it's quite cool here today in Melbourne. Thank goodness. Poppy says hi. I'll do the love for both of us. Hey, thanks for joining. Thanks for coming over from the last stream, or if you weren't there, thanks for being here now. I see that Joey with the longest name ever, Joey Kane, aka Lumpy, aka Ed E. Claire. Steph's here. Love. Steph, you need to change your display pic to be that cute roller skate pic. You've given me an idea for a song, girl, with that. Something. Laura's here. Lovely. Colours. Kraken. Hi. Matilda, hi again. Nick, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, you beautiful, sexy people. And to you, sir. Nobody's ever going to get tired of this, ever.
It's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
Ever. If you do, there's something wrong with you, and you guess we can't be friends. I mean, we can, but it's going to be playing all the time. So, Vixie, Steph, Colours. Amber's here, but Amber's going to be doing some body doubling while she gets shit done because she's on a mission. She's hyper focused on getting stuff organized and clean in her house, and I love that. So we will keep you company while you're there, Amber. Grass is green enough. Cool. Ahimsa, lovely. Brit, lovely. Princey, beautiful. Boobs, yes. Everybody loves boobs except Colours. Colours finds boobs a little bit, I want to say activating, but it could be activating or triggering because Colours has been breastfeeding for 5 years. Sorry, too much information, but she says it in chat. And so understandably, boobs aren't her favourite thing. Amber is experiencing inertia, possibly. I listen like 50 times a day, right? I'm like, Joey, do the whole one. And then can you please do a shorter clip? And then just that last little bit. So good. So good. Traumatic. That's the word. I'm into tentacles. Oh, Poppy just barged into the bedroom and she's, motherfucker, you propped the door open, Poppy. That changed my mood. Look, see, can you see? I'll fix it in a minute. I did also nurse my babies, but it was a long, long, long time now. My daughter just turned 27. Wow. I'm a grandmother of a 3-year-old, I believe. No, I do know. I know she's 3. I just haven't ever met her. Oh, that's for another day. What are we here to talk about? Well, I find it quite interesting that I seem to attract, and I think in chat there's been a general theme that many of us in the Camp Shorty community seem to attract guys that like to wear red flags as an outfit, or perhaps tucked in their pockets. And I'm like, yeah, why is that? So of course, Dr. Ramani has some answers for us. We've got a couple of short-ish clips from Dr. Ramani, 10 minutes or so, and then I don't think I've played anything from this lovely lady here. Let me show you. And then we'll watch most of this, but it's 2.5 hours, so we probably won't watch most of it. We might carry it over till the next week because we've got part 2 at least of this series of why some women tend to attract manipulators. And that's just like the core idea of it. We're going to talk about a whole lot of the psychology in that. Next week, if we get through a lot of this one, next week we'll be talking about watching Lisa Billier. She's got 1.83 million subscribers, so she's pretty cool, pretty popular. I like her a lot. She spoke to, just a little while ago, I believe just 2 months ago, the author Richard Green, who wrote The Art of Seduction. So that's a really interesting interview as well. So, yes. Kraken says, Lisa, I literally have a graphic print design called Friends Don't Let Friends Miss Red Flags. Yes, that's awesome. I love that. Well, merch ideas flying. Get it? Ahimsa. Color says, Ahimsa, when my little baby. Hey, sidebar, do you like Ahimsa how I can always say your name now? It's like how I couldn't say Takapina and then I could. But then we swapped out Takapina for Flexback. And when my baby, littlest one, was born, I was still nursing his brother. So I had 2 I was nursing for a while, but the older one stopped. Both boys, very rough. I nursed my daughter, who is 15, but she's no longer feeding, I hope. No shade, man. Whatever works. Colors, wait, did you have a baby on each boob? Or did the natural attrition happen and bigger boy said, I don't want to share? Questions. We have questions. I have a shirt that says red flag. Lol. Well, I guess we'll need to make some sort of red flag merch, won't we? It's all right. I haven't got much to do. A baby on each boob. Colours, ma'am. No wonder you hold the position you hold in our military system. Love, love, love. And interestingly, my new song, which isn't released yet, so probably pointless talking about it. It's called Sirens. Sirens, Sirens. And I guess it's the kind of the flip side of women who attract manipulators, because I also seem to attract not only those kind of guys. And I had a revelatory moment when I was sending a voice note to Amber, where perhaps my apparent magnetism to men who, not all men, but some men, seem to fall heavily head over heels in love with me in a very quick succession. And that I'm like, well, I'm just magnetic, obviously, and it's a blessing and a curse. Then it dawned on me midway through the voice note that no, perhaps not that. Perhaps the magnetism is to my openness and my reciprocal or my empathness, and the fact that some guys are drawn to me like that and then use those tactics, those love bombing, the too fast, too much, too soon stuff isn't because I'm amazing, although clearly I am, but perhaps it's these kind of guys. I mean, can it be both and? Are they mutually exclusive? Princey says she has boobs for a reason. Same, and it's not for breastfeeding. Just saying. Thanks, Ahimsa. Matilda says, my son stopped at 3.5. It was time. Yes. Boobs. Good. Carry on with the boobs. I breastfed or nursed my son with implants. There you go. It was fine. Oh, colours. I don't know if it's the average age. Depends. My daughter I breastfed. Sorry, boob chat. Hi, replay crew. We'll get onto the subject in a minute. We'll stay back on topic soon. My daughter was 7 months because I had to go back to work, and my son was 3 months because we had to make a trip, a road trip from Adelaide down the south of Australia all the way to Newcastle when my sister-in-law passed away suddenly, and Kobe was only 3 months old, and we had to get there quickly. It was, we had to get there, and it's a big long drive, and so I couldn't feed him as often, so my milk dried up. There you go. There you go, replay crew and chat. Enjoy. Lol. Shall we carry on? It's a bit of both. Oh, Nick. Bless. I think you're right. Yes. Okay. Well, I did natural, hey, I've got to go back to work weaning. And that was also the case with my son also. Okay, so we're going to present the screen. How do we do that? One day I'll know how to do this while everything's out of order because fucking can't. Oh, I just said can't already. Now, this is great because even though the tabs are in order, they're not on the thing here. Here we go. So we're going to start with some Dr. Ramani because she's going to explain to us why. Oh, don't go yet, doctor. Thank you. Why this is a 7-minute video, so we're not going to go heavy on Ramani tonight because we're heavy on the, I'm going to say rather hunky CIA agent and rather saucy, sexy, fit-looking Lisa Billieux. I don't know how to say her name, but that's how I say it because I'm fancy. So let's watch. Wait, let me check. Volume, speed. I think I probably didn't have it on too fast. No, fantastic.
Shawty swing my way. Swing it over here, shawty.
Oh, if you had your earballs turned down for the last stream, I've adjusted my microphone back to a normal level and the sound bites. And theoretically, Dr. Ramani should be also a sensible volume level. So adjust your own levels accordingly. Let's go. Wait, what are we doing? Closed captions.
Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani and welcome to a
Where
new
are they?
series.
Wait.
This series
I want
is
to.
about what I call
Thank you.
narcissist magnets. So
Hi,
what is
it's
a
me.
narcissist magnet?
Doesn't sound loud.
To subscribe to this channel, it's coming up. Just hit that button. So what is a narcissist magnet? I'm sure you have a
Where'd they
pretty
go?
decent sense of what they are. I like to say that your various narcissistic magnetic pieces are the things that
Where's the closed
get you
captioning gone?
sucked in and get you stuck into these relationships. And by that I mean,
What am I doing with
these
my
are what I
life?
consider to be the vulnerability factors a person may have that make them more vulnerable to
Okay.
falling into a narcissistic
Wait.
relationship. Now, to be have sort of these narcissistic magnets.
Well, now I can't do anything.
That draw narcissists
Like
towards.
literally. It doesn't seem like I can get closed captions on this. Closed captions. Yes, please. Chat loves it. I like it, actually. We'll see. I'm a professional. Just winging it.
This can affect the relationships you sort of choose.
I mean, good for them. I'm happy. But I just want to make sure that I am still held in the highest esteem of the system. It's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
Wait, should we make that dirty paws of Dr. Ramani a sticker? Let me just screenshot because that's fucking hilarious. Or can maybe someone else can because I don't think I'm up to the spot. Wait. It's in real time, chat. God damn it. There it is. Got you. I got you, Dr. Ramani. We love it. You look beautiful. Very expressive face. Carry on, doctor. Pay attention, chat.
There's a moment where the narcissist has to come into your life and you kind of have to sign off
Oh
on
my
it
God.
and stick it out. These are elements of yourself that aren't necessarily bad things.
Wait.
They may actually be some of the best parts of yourself. But these
Nick, have you seen my cue list? Because the next video we're watching from Dr. Ramani is why narcissists target open people. Look at you, sir. You're very clever. And thanks for the compliment. Cheers.
elements of you may blind you to narcissism, lead you to make someone who makes a lot of excuses for their bad behavior, makes it hard for you to step away,
I'll fix
and
it,
may lead
Princey.
you more likely to blame yourself in one of these relationships as well.
Is that better, Princey?
This series is a part of what I do talk about with people who come to my
Is that better,
retreats and
Princey?
other seminars, because what I found
See you,
is that
Kraken.
many people
Thanks for joining.
can really
Literally.
get angry at themselves. How did I get stuck in this mess? Why am I in this relationship? Like, I am a smart person. I have a good job. I've got good friends. I'm well put together. Why am I in this situation where I'm behaving like a fool? And people will get really angry at themselves. But when we work backwards, we start to realize that the reason a narcissistic individual was able to get close enough, insinuate themselves into our lives, and stick around, and we didn't show them the door, is because of these sorts of narcissist magnet qualities we have. Things that made it more likely that we became almost strangely attractive to the narcissist, maybe because it was going to make us a little bit more easy to manipulate, or we have to take ownership. It put us in a situation where we were going to, again, be less likely to see the red flags. Now, I tread very lightly as I go into this series. I want to make one disclaimer right up the front. When I talk about these sorts of magnets, this is by no means meant to blame someone. This is your fault for being forgiving. It's not that at all. These are vulnerabilities. But these vulnerabilities, coupled with a lack of knowledge about narcissism, is why you, a wise, well put together person, would have ended up in a relationship where you're saying, my judgment's good in all the other areas of my life. These magnet qualities are, again, qualities in yourself that actually play out beautifully in other human relationships, but get taken advantage of in this one. Then when you combine that, having these sort of narcissist magnet traits with a lack of knowledge about narcissism, that's when you can really find yourself getting into these really tricky spaces. The goal of my YouTube channel has always been to educate people and enlighten them about what these patterns are about. So once they start happening, you don't make excuses, rationalizations, and second chances. You see it clearly and you make a choice that works for you, or you ratchet your expectations to a realistic space. So by understanding what your vulnerabilities are, these so-called kind of magnetic qualities that you have that might draw you in and keep you in, it's to help you cultivate those if they're the healthy pieces of yourself, and also to understand if they're not the healthy parts of yourself, that these are vulnerabilities. And what that means is as you go through life, whether it's picking an employer, choosing friends, or certainly doing something important,
Good
like
to
choosing
see you,
a life
girl.
partner, that you remain mindful that you do have some of these vulnerabilities. These magnets are just as much magnets, things that draw narcissists to you, as they are blind spots.
Oh,
And if you can
colors.
be aware of that blind spot, for example, if you have a real
I'm sorry.
propensity to forgive people, or you're very much one of those people who loves to rescue people, that you might run the risk of giving too much of yourself to a toxic relationship. By
Boom.
viewing it through a lens of exactly what are these qualities in me that might be making me potentially vulnerable to the charms and the manipulations of a narcissist, you can take ownership. It makes you less of a passive player in this and have you wonder like, yeah, I know this about myself. And I really need to be eyes wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also going to learn some interesting things like, yeah, there's just not just one magnet you might be holding. You might have multiple magnetic types. So pay attention in this series. And as it goes on, take note of which of these may fit you well. And it may be more than one. And as you figure that out, I'm hoping it'll give you more of a roadmap that'll protect you the next time you find yourself with a tyrannical boss, or if you're already in a relationship, when one more time you're having to face down the gaslighting of your partner, or if you're dating, to have your eyes wide open to make sure you're not falling into these patterns of excuses and rationalizations, or if you're putting up with an egocentric friend's usual manipulations, that you can be aware of what things about yourself have rendered you vulnerable and address those. So I do hope you enjoy this series. I hope it opens your eyes to some of the things that might be risk factors for you. So that way you can really work on your ground game, focus on protecting yourself, but also remember some of these magnetic traits you have, you're going to see they're some of the best parts of yourself. Don't hand them over to the narcissistic lowest bidder. Save them for the people who deserve to see those best parts of yourself. Again, this is not a series about, this is my fault because I'm a this and that. Not at all. This is a series about vulnerability. So please view it in that spirit. And I do hope you learn from it. Thanks. And I hope you like this series.
We love everything about you, Dr. Ramani. I've made a note that, because that's an intro to that series, I've made a note to, in a future episodes, that we'll go over some of her bits and pieces, right? How exciting. What I see on the top corner of the screen is our live there. And we're live. It's like YouTube knows. Right. So how is this next one? Let me see. 10 minutes. We'll play this next one, which is the why narcissists target open people. And remember, this doesn't necessarily have to be clinical narcissists, like, diagnosed narcissists. Let me just remind you that we are not, well, I don't think anyone here is a mental health professional. I'm not. We're just learning from Dr. Ramani's experiences and education and training to open our eyes to better equip ourselves in life. And even for you fellas in the chat and or on replay crew, obviously you're not, well, I presume you're not a woman being targeted by manipulators, narcissists, toxic people. And this next one isn't necessarily just about women. It's about people. But it might help you better understand someone in your life who seems to have a pattern for being getting embroiled in these same kind of situations. And it doesn't necessarily mean romantic relationships either. So we'll play this one and then we might listen to a song. Joey's got a short list. Oh, wow, that's fast. I was watching this one on fast speed. Yikes, 1.5. Yikes.
Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Ramani.
Woo!
Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and frankly, healing from these relationships. So today we're going to go back to that personality series where we're taking on your personality.
Yikes!
So today, as we continue
The
this
mirror.
personality series, like I said, we're talking about your personality. Let's put theirs on the back shelf for now. We're going to take on a trait called openness. And remember, we're talking about your personality and how it affects your risk for being targeted for these relationships, getting in.
While I think of it, Karen Reed is innocent, just letting you know, we will at Camp Shorty be going back to Karen Reed content when the trial rolls around. It's absolutely on the cards, not just on the cards, it's in the plans. So never fear. We haven't abandoned shining a light onto the corruptitudes of it all and the plight of Karen Reed, nor the justice required for Officer John O'Keefe. So just so you know, we will go back to it, just taking a little break. Yes.
Into these relationships, staying in narcissistic relationships, what it's like to stay in them, and sort of the fallout and what happens when they end or these relationships disengage. Now, today we're going to take on a trait called openness.
I love you too.
Openness is the funny one of these traits in this five-factor model. It might be sort of the trickiest. From a scientific perspective, openness is often the one that sort of statistically feels the least stable. But all of that said, let's do a deeper dive into this quality called openness. Now, people in that sort of healthy range of openness, moderate, even to the moderate, higher, slightly higher level of openness, they're open. This scale is actually formally called openness to experience. And these mid-range, healthy to slightly higher than expectable scores mean a person with a more active imagination, who care about art and other creative expression, who are open to new experiences and seeking out new experiences like travel, being open to a range of intellectual ideas, being tolerant of ambiguity, and having a willingness to push back on authority and the way things have always been done, as well as an openness to exploring one's own feelings or even the feelings of others.
Interesting. A lot of those things make me feel a little bit uncomfortable because I don't love ambiguity. I like very clearly defined things. I also very much love rules and like abiding rules and laws. That's my neurodivergence. However, I am very open to many things also. So, Dr. Ramani, as Princey said in last night's stream when we were watching Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, we were talking about the spoon theory of capacity and capabilities, and how many spoons we have left in our reserves each day to get shit done. And Princey sort of mentioned that Dr. Ramani doesn't speak from lived experience of being neurodivergent, and no, she doesn't. You're right, and I'm glad you clarified that for me, Princey. So some of these things might be a little bit more neurotypical in what Dr. Ramani is describing, but we don't have to be so rigid that we can't see the in between the lines, the ambiguity, the gray areas of the nuances, right?
Of other people. Again, as an aside, if openness gets way too high, like super high, you might find someone who's kind of a little bit all over the map and constantly on a grail search for more and more new experiences. They might almost feel unrooted. You may find people who are far, far, far more experimental than the average bear in just about every area of life. Now, if openness is very, 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 very low,
Lurk
you
away,
find
life
people who are
artist.
rigidly traditional,
Have some
rigidly
teas for me.
conservative, have absolutely no interest in exploring new ideas or perspectives, could be very moralistic, potentially even judgmental, but definitely not open to new anything. May even feel like a bit of a throwback and perhaps even biased in a very backward and even discriminatory way. But in that healthy level of openness, okay, what does this mean for narcissistic relationships? Let's start with basics. People high in openness are open. So open people are open. And so they may be willing to explore a relationship with anyone who seems interesting. Now, that could set up a little bit of a
Right.
risk here of getting pulled into a narcissistic relationship for a few reasons.
Hi, Shan.
A higher in openness
Mwah.
person may be so open to different ways of being that they will also be a bit more tolerant of a narcissistic person's behavior and maybe
It's very shorty of Dr. Ramani in this video. She has to clear her throat a couple of times, and I love that because, me.
be willing to entertain the narcissistic person's worldviews and perspectives, even if they are strange or problematic. People higher in openness are also curious, and because of that, may let the relationship keep unfolding, even if red flags come up, because their exploration and curiosity about something or someone new is, again, so robust. Narcissistic people, especially more grandiose narcissists and even communal narcissists, may actually be very attracted to people who are higher in openness because people higher in openness are interesting. The only narcissistic people who may find people who are higher in openness or in healthy openness off-putting are more of the self-righteous narcissists,
chaos.
the narcissistic people who
Cha-ching.
are very
Link up.
restrictive and moralistic and controlling and judgmental. That subset of narcissistic people will not like the high openness, or I shouldn't say high, healthy openness people out there. Now, while you're in a narcissistic relationship, again, openness, that trait may mean that a person is more willing and able to tolerate the bizarre range of beliefs that a narcissistic person may have. Now, this may mean that an open person who's very tolerant may have actually more tolerance for the BS that arises in a narcissistic relationship.
Not these days.
Now, there's some interesting
so
quirks in open people, not all, but some. For example, a person higher or moderate to high openness may be willing to hear whatever perspective the narcissistic person has. For example, even if the narcissistic person cheated on them, they might be willing to hear, like, what was that about? And as a result, may end up enduring a lot more of the bad behavior in a narcissistic relationship for a longer time. Listen, an open person may be open to quirks and trying new things, and open people may, not always, but sometimes may actually also be more sexually open, more open to trying new things in a relationship. And so again, especially in the early phases, may do well with a narcissistic person who is, especially, it might be very novelty seeking or very sexually experimental. But an open person is never going to be open to invalidation. There's no openness trait to different perspectives that makes invalidation better, right?
Right.
But what about on the back end? Again, a person higher in openness may be more open to the narcissistic person's process and journey. This is not to say that a person higher or moderate high in openness is a capitulator or a codependent. Quite the opposite. If a narcissistic relationship ends, people who have healthy levels of openness will still be hurt, but the openness could foster a resilience. And remember, nobody, not even a person who has good, healthy, robust levels of openness is open to invalidation. Nobody
Welcome, new members.
Nobody likes that. Now, people who are lower, like significantly lower in this trait called openness, the ones who are closed off to new ideas, perspectives, who are not curious,
oh my God,
who are not tolerant of a new anything, who actually kind of love authority and tradition. By and large, believe it or not, overall, this probably won't work well with a narcissistic person, again, unless it's one of those rigid, self-righteous, moralistic, judgmental narcissistic people. Otherwise, that rigidity might be a little off-putting for many narcissistic people because they may feel judged early in the game. But to sort of narcissists who meet rigid narcissists who meet something like that, it could work. Now, openness is such an interesting quality, and by itself, it doesn't always tell us much, but as it mixes with the other personality patterns, it makes a little more sense. Higher openness and higher agreeableness that we've talked about, that's just a really flexible, curious person who gets along really well with folks. I like that mix a lot. Now, if higher openness happens to co-occur with slightly higher neuroticism, that's not that likely, but it can happen. There may be then someone who is sort of open to a range of perspectives, but still really may struggle with those negative mood states. And despite their openness, may still struggle more when a narcissistic relationship is happening or ends. Now, people who are open, tolerant of ambiguity, flexible, curious, just open to everything, are those who are higher, again, and those are in that moderate to high level of openness. Again, my personal bias, it's a personal bias, I think it's a nice style. There's a real mental flexibility and an attitudinal flexibility here. These are typically people who are typically more liberal, more open to hearing new and different voices, having relationships with people who are different than them, who look different, who have different backstories. And unless it gets to be so open that it gets weird, and that can happen. That might feel like a very extreme alternative lifestyle thing. And if both people are down with that, it's consensual, then good for them. They found each other. That mid-level of openness is good. I think it's healthy for a personality. And while I do think overall this personality style could be a little tricky when it enters into a relationship with narcissistic personalities, because it could get a person sucked in. And if you are higher in healthy in openness, you might actually be open to their nonsense. Honestly, outside of narcissistic relationships, the open personality style can really set someone up for a far more interesting and adventurous life. As the world evolves, I mean, what the funny thing is human history has been so same until the Industrial Revolution, and then with the more technological revolution, I'd say over the last 50 or 60 years, the high openness people are really thriving, because the way we communicate, all the shifts in the world, and even how human relationships happen has become so fluid that the people who do have more of that openness and flexibility, there's something that works there. Again, they're just more curious. They're like, oh, I'm never going to talk into a little glass screen in my pocket. All right, people are like, well, that's cool. Let me take a look at that. It's that's cool people. And like I said,
that's pretty cool.
Tolerant.
That's what I say all the
very
time
tolerant
to
of
the
ambiguity, love beauty and art, and we'll take a minute and say, oh my gosh, isn't the universe a beautiful thing? And we'll look at the stars. There's a really, I would say, magical quality about people who have those really healthy, moderate, high levels of openness. And again, the problem is, I think that's also very intriguing to a fair chunk of narcissistic people. But you healthy levels of openness people, there's a little bit of a resilience in you. You might be able to be circumspect. If you have a little bit of neuroticism in there, it might make these relationships tougher. But folks out there with the solid levels of openness and those higher levels of agreeableness, come find me if you ever see me in a coffee shop. I'd love to talk to you.
I would love to talk to Dr. Romany. Oh my God. Oh my God. I would die. I'd be like, Bravo, Dr. Ramani. Love, 10-10, Dr. Ramani. She's the fucking best. She's the besticles, just like testicles, only way better because obviously, testicles. No offense, best. So, shall we have a musical interlude? Yes, we will. I said yes. And I'm going to play Bookends because it's kind of late. And Colours, congratulations on getting all cleaned up in there. Life Artist is doing some stuff. Amber is back there doing some stuff. Joey went to the strip club. Wow, Joey. Now, I don't know about the volume here, so warning.
Count it 5, 10, yeah, 15, 20, 25, 30, yeah, get the money.
That's loud. Sorry about your earballs, chat. Oh, thanks, Joey. Welcome, new members. Yikes. Sorry, Princey, if that burst your balls out. Your earballs. Hey, want to play Bookends? It's beautiful. I love it. Here, it's in alphabetical order. Why can't I find it? Motherfucker.
Bookends, start to finish, peaceful, never out to win it. Hellscape and then nirvana, nightmarish, now we calm. 2 months or 9 long weeks, it's been beyond exhausting. Didn't ask for this fucking shit, but did you feel it closing? Bookends, start to finish, peaceful, never out to win. Hellscape and then nirvana, nightmarish, this is karma. We're done here, like actually, no more your skewed reality. We closed it, it feels amazing. Don't look back, no contact, sing. Bookends, start to finish, peaceful, never out to win. Hellscape and then nirvana, nightmarish, now we calm. 4chan, door slams, taking back my peace. We called it, you fucked it, you'll miss me. Bookends, start to finish, peaceful, never out to win. Hellscape and then nirvana, nightmarish, this is karma. You had me captivated, but now I'm soaring, elevated. You got nothing, we took it back. I feel this in my bones, so yuck it up to the abyss. Nothing at all, I will not miss. Bookends, start to finish, peaceful, never out to win it. Hellscape and then nirvana, nightmarish, this is karma. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that song. A palate cleanser, no? But not a loud banging one with screamo at the end because it's late for everybody, particularly for, I want to say, Vixie, if she's still awake. Hi, Simi. Good to see you. Did you bring cheese? I'm really hungry. You like that one, Matilda? It's beautiful, huh? That was after Colours and I did our epic tough live stream. Here, let me put myself in the middle like that, y'all. And I felt just this amazing weight lifted up. Amazing weight lift up off my shoulder, and immediately what came to my mind was that live stream was the bookend, the beginning. I don't know, the bombshell, the blind side, whatever. But that episode was our bookend. And yes, Vixie, Simi brought cheese. Yes, hang in there. I didn't want to jolt you into some sort of loud craziness, so I didn't. I tried not to. Poor Chaos, Mrs. Chaos. She's like, why, what? I don't know why this. We have a variety show now, Chaos, where we just put some songs in there to break up the seriousness of it all. Not that we really do anything too seriously, do we? Hey, let's go into this CIA guy. Pretty cool. This is going to be less psychology, more storytelling interview, kind of a bit more engaging. So, Princey, for you, just 2 short Dr. Ramani clips. And I hope that was didn't tip you over. I hope that didn't use all your spoons. Now I've got to find it. Motherfucker. There it is. So this guy, yes, Colours, I'm pretty sure that he can help us with our security clearances. Perhaps other things also. Not even thirsty. Might have to use the thirst trap emote again. His name is Andrew Bustamante. He's very lovely. Some of this start of this feels a little like, why are we watching this? But it gives context, and we won't watch all of it, but we might. We'll see how we're going. But so this is Lisa Billier. She mentioned in a more recent. This video was 9 months ago. She's spoken to him since, and we'll watch one of them as well. But she mentioned, I think, in the most recent one I watched with the Robert Greene, the Art of Seduction guy, that she was the founder of Quest Nutrition. And I don't know, perhaps Nick, you gym rat, anybody who's ever had a Quest Nutrition bar. I don't want to. I thought that Quest was a US brand, but she says it. So I love her. She's a powerful woman she's in 1979, so she's mid 40s. Me, late 40s. Let's start. I'm not sure about the speed or the volume, but we'll see.
When you put the 4 of those things together, you kind of create the perfect concoction for a con man to step in, and they leave you high and dry, broke, alone, and dejected. You may not even realize they're manipulating you until it feels like it's too late.
We women often ignore our gut feelings, even when they're glaring at us, because, well, we don't want to make a fuss, we don't want to embarrass ourselves, and possibly make a false accusation. And sometimes we may ignore the creepy guy giving us that creepy look in the corner. So, Andrew, help. How do we know if it actually is just our imaginations running away with us because we've watched too many episodes of True Detective, or if they really are master manipulators and another Dirty John or Tinder swindler in disguise?
The place to start with what action to take is actually to understand how you yourself are wired. And there's a lot of empirical evidence out there to show the difference between the core.
Wait, he's going to talk Myers-Briggs. So this is we've done the homework for this chat. I am well aware that we haven't continued with the Myers-Briggs thing. It's the whole peasant work shit of it all that I can't do all the things I need to do in the very short amount of time. This is why Vixie's still up at 2:45, almost 3 a.m. Sorry about that. So he talks Myers-Briggs. And have you heard of the Dirty John? Have you listened to the Dirty John podcast? Tara Newell. I'm Facebook friends with her. She's lovely. She used to be in a couple with Collier Landry. I don't know if they still do, have a podcast called Survivor something. I couldn't listen to it because, no offense, Collier Landry, but he's torture. But I did DM Tara in Messenger a couple of nights ago, and I'll reach out to her again, but to see if she'll come on Camp Shorty to have a chat. She was attacked by her mother's narcissistic, psychopathic ex-boyfriend in the car park or the parking garage of her residence, and he had a knife. She didn't realize she was being stabbed. She ended up getting the knife off him and stabbing him to death. Dirty John. It's a really enlightening podcast if you haven't listened to it. watch the series Dirty John. Not Surviving the Survivor. It's something else. Surviving the Survivor is, no, that's, they have an audio, like a Spotify podcast. I don't know if they still do. It was a very hard listen because Tara is delightful and Collier is very, I think, trauma-based and neurodivergent, self-absorbed, and every guest they had on, he turned everything into himself. And I know I tend to do that, but it was hard to listen to. No shade, sorry, Collier Landry, just feedback. Brian LTL does some stuff with Collier Landry now, I believe. So, shall we carry on? Yes, triggering. This could be triggering. Thank you to whoever put that trigger warning up.
The core fundamental wiring of a female versus a male, specifically in Western culture. So I'm going to reference something called Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI. It's a personality test that standard that's used all across government agencies, it's used in universities, it's used in the corporate workplace, which means introverted, sensor, feeler, judger. Almost 20% of women. 1 out of every 5 women fall into the ISFJ category.
Me,
why is that important to what you're asking? Because that category specifically means that women make gut instinct decisions. So they make decisions from their gut, but they collect data from facts. That's what the S means. The S means that you use your 5 senses to collect information. So you're using what you see, what you hear, what you smell to collect the information around you. But with all that factual information, you make your decisions not based on the information, but based off of your gut. And then because you're also a J stands for judger, that means that you're trying to fit your decisions into a rubric that's been defined for you by an outside force. Well, what is that outside force in Western culture? It's Western society. So what that means is women see things, hear things, smell things that aren't right. But then because they're trying to fit within a Western society, they know that if they call attention to the thing that they distrust, they might be judged as paranoid, bitchy, who knows what, right? Silly, stupid. So then their gut instinct, their gut feeling is, maybe I'm wrong, so I'll just wait. And then they're introverted, so they don't have a lot of external friends that they really trust. When you put the 4 of those things together, you kind of create the perfect concoction for a con man to step in and manipulate all 4 categories. And because 1 in 5 women fall into these categories, you can see why there's such a high prevalence of con men.
All right, so help me understand then, Andrew. How do we start to then break it? And how do manipulators actually identify that you're that type of person to go after in the first place?
This is where it starts to get really interesting, right? There is not a single thing wrong with being an ISFJ. Nothing wrong. There's no inherent weakness. If anything, there's an inherent strength in being ISFJ, because when you take what the typical man is almost the exact opposite, right? ENTP is the average man, right? And I'm an ENTP. My wife is an ISFJ. I wouldn't be surprised if you and Tom are very similar.
Do you mind breaking down what ENTP is?
ENTP means extrovert, intuitor, thinker, perceiver, which compared to your ISFJ, they're polar opposites, right? Extroverts mean they like being around people. Introverts mean they like being alone. Like meaning they generate energy. When I get tired, I want to be around people. When my wife gets tired, she wants to be alone. That's how we recharge. That's your E and your I. Intuitors collect information based off of their experience and what they think might be happening. I'm an intuitor. So I might see something and be like, oh, I don't know if I really trust what I see. My wife is a sensor. When she sees something, she believes it. That's what the numbers say. That's what the color is. It's not going to rain because there's no clouds in the sky. I look at the sky and I'm like, it could rain soon. I think it could. So we intuit information, right? That's your N versus your S. I'm a thinker. My wife is a feeler. I make decisions based off of information that I intuit. You can see how problematic that is. I'm making decisions based off of what I think might happen. My wife makes decisions based on her gut instinct. And then, of course, J and P, she tries to fit a norm that's been defined for her. That's a J. I am a P. I make my own norm. And to hell with everything else. So you can see how we're different, but you can also see how when you have the right mix, they complement each other almost perfectly. Because now she can be the source of real data. I can make a rational based decision off of her real data. She can always keep me true to the framework of society. I can always challenge her to question the framework of society, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's what happens when personalities complement each other. What happens a lot of times is that same complementary relationship, just like an ENTP can empower an ISFJ, or an ISFJ can empower an ENTP. In too many instances, you end up having very successful women, ISFJs, because they know how to fit into a category. They know how to do a good job in a corporation. They know how to do a good job in society. They know how to be accepted by their peers. They know how to volunteer for the church or for the school. They know how to be awesome people. And the vast majority of ISFJ women, they are awesome people. They're the people you and I look up to, right? But they're vulnerable to this ENTP type that can come in and basically be all the things that they're not. Because like all human beings, we're attracted to the opposite. We're attracted to what we aren't. So when you see somebody come in who's super comfortable in a social setting, that's an interesting person to you. When you see someone come in who isn't paralyzed by gut instincts or constantly like struggling to make a decision, you're very interested and attracted to that person. And when you
I'm going to skip through to thank God it's timestamped, to the next bit. So we know Myers-Briggs. If we don't check the playlist, because we want to get to the good stuff. Because that's good, but it's not great. I mean, it's great. It's just 2 hours. How con artists hunt you down. That.
But dishonest people like to surround themselves by honest people because it gives them an unfair advantage. So once he finds her, then there's a second level to Dirty John that I think is important to talk about, because Dirty John had a history of criminal activity, previous fraudulent activity. He was a criminal. When you start seeing people who are compulsive criminals, you have to start asking the question about whether they fit into the realm of antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy.
How do you know that they're
Brit, it's in the description of this video already. Oh, is it? It is. But yes.
They're criminals, because you can even lie about that. I mean, I bet you that wasn't something he put on his dating profile.
No, you're exactly right. And it's a great question. One of the things that Dirty John did specifically to his target is he started trying to insulate her from her own friends. This is a major telltale sign when you as a female are dating somebody who is a dangerous person. If they try to insulate you or pull you away, isolate you from your existing circle of friends, your existing family, your existing network, usually it's because they're trying to hide something that they don't worry about you discovering, but they worry about your best friend discovering. They worry about your mom finding out, right? So they try to pull you away from the people that you're closest to. Dirty John isolated his target from her children and her friends. Her children and her friends actually hired a private investigator to look into him, and that's how all of his background became known.
And before you move on, is it the reason why he wasn't worried about her finding out is because he knew he could manipulate her and control her even if she did, but he doesn't have that type of power over her family?
Correct.
And Brit.
Correct. There's a formula in CIA operations. There's a formula that we use whenever we convert an asset. There is a very specific rubric, a process to manipulate and gain power over.
My earbud is falling out because I'm laughing. Colors says, why does this lady look so freaked out when it cuts to her face? I think she's like reeling from the information for dramatic effects. Also, I think she probably takes a lot of pre-workout of her own brand, I'd say. She's got a lot of very expensive jewelry also. I guess 1.83 or whatever million subscribers and owning an international nutrition supplements business will afford you all of the fineries, including
over an individual. Any type of individual, any personality type, you just have to understand the levers that make them work, right? So when one of those processes is called know, like, trust, KLT. What that process means is that first somebody has to know you exist. If they don't know you exist, then you're not real. Then they have to learn to like you. Over time, as you learn to like somebody.
Okay, so I had some light bulb moments the other night when I was watching this for the first time. And this know, like, trust is a really important equation. And like these videos, I swear to God, we're going to learn so much for ourselves in retrospect or for the future, for our friends, for our loved ones, for our sisters. It's really important to be able to see these things. And when he this guy, Andrew, articulates it and puts it into, really palatable definitions and explanations. Oh my God, I was bug-eyed. I was bug-eyeing like Lisa on whatever night it was, a night, going, oh fuck, I understand what's happening now.
There's an effect called the slippery slope effect. The more you learn to like somebody, you eventually just fall into trusting that person. We always say you have to earn my trust. That's not really true. If you like me for long enough.
That's so true. Oh my God, you literally just hit me like with a sledgehammer just now.
You will just trust me.
You will fall into trust.
And that's what happens for many, many feelers. ISFJ. Feelers trust their gut. So if they like you for long enough, then they just feel like they can trust you. So think about all the women out there. Maybe this has even been you.
This is me. You not see my eyes are so wide, Andrew. Like, yes,
you hear
that's
that?
me.
Think about all the women out there.
So she just said, it's me. Can you see my eyes are so wide? I'm thinking it's me. So that's why she's having the same revelations that I was having. And like game changer. This for me was a game changer. I'm like, oh, pennies were dropping. 50 years old. Are you fucking kidding me? Only getting there. She's a little different because she's UK, right? Different accent. Her fashion, I mean, early 2000s called They Want Their Boots Back. But I love, she's cool. She's a shorty. I reckon she's an honorary shorty.
There who have had a partner cheat, have had a partner steal, have had a partner lie.
Not surprised you like
then,
Nick. She's
even after they catch their partner, they still stay with the partner or come back to the partner. Give them a second chance. Give them a third chance. Give them a fifth chance. My wife is a former covert CIA intelligence officer. She is a badass. She went to CIA running away from a 7-year abusive relationship.
Wow, really?
Because she had fallen off the cliff of like into trust. And then she was in this position where she was like,
maybe I could be a CIA agent. Joey, do you think I'd be good at keeping secrets for the CIA?
like, why do I keep coming back to the same boyfriend? And then it took an invitation from the National Clandestine Service for her to finally leave the guy.
Wow.
Right? Like it's not about weakness. It is very much about personality and inherent processes in how we think. So until a feeler, or in this case, until a female who is exposed to this kind of treatment, until she starts to realize this is how I am wired, I will always have this vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's just an opportunity for someone else to take advantage of, right? So until you understand that you fall into trust, then you never have the time to stop and take a step back and say, I really like this person.
All the secrets.
I need to be careful, right? When you start adding other warning indicators, I really like this person, and he's trying to isolate me from my friends. I really like this person, but he's telling me that we need to keep certain secrets about our relationship.
Yeah, man. I've heard that one recently even.
You don't ever see the first, if you don't ever realize that you're liking the person and starting to trust them just by virtue of liking them, then you never even see the other warning signs.
Yeah,
and
you do.
They're all there with the Dirty John
do.
case, which is easy for us in hindsight to look back and say, how did she miss them? But in reality, she wasn't even looking for them. She was coming from a place in her life where she didn't feel like she was worthy of anybody, where she felt like she was a failure, where she felt like...
Wait, pause. Sidebar. Matilda, you still here? What do you think about Miss Shorty Russian nesting dolls, or Colours Flight Russian nesting dolls? Surely, the merch store. Chat, what do you think? Shorty nesting dolls, babushka dolls. I have a babushka doll tattoo on the back of my calf. Ow. Worst place on the whole body to get tattooed. Ugh.
No matter how much we looked at her and said, you're awesome, she looked at herself in the mirror and said, I've done it all wrong. So how are you going to ever expect someone like that with their face down in the weeds? How are they ever going to pull their head up enough to see what's happening around them? Con men can identify that in a person.
How dare you?
That's how they pick their perfect target, just like a salesman picks their perfect lead.
Yes.
I interrupted you, sorry, but you said, so know them, like them, and then what was the last one?
Trust.
Trust them, okay.
Trust, know, like, trust. It's hard for the very reason we talked about. Once you like somebody long enough, you will fall into trust. And then there's a rumor out there that once you violate someone's trust, they never trust you again.
Rumor.
It's not really true. In reality, once you trust somebody, you always give them the benefit of the doubt. So your husband is cheating or your boyfriend is cheating. Why do you forgive them? Because there's a part of you that's still giving them the benefit of the doubt. Oh, maybe it was a bad day, or maybe they were with their friends, or they got high, or they got drunk, or it won't happen again. That trust is so difficult to pull yourself out of, right? So when we talk about no like trust, no like trust is the centerpiece of a larger system called development.
Thanks,
Development
Brett.
is the D in the term SADRAT, SADRAT.
I like to think the way I look is the least impressive thing about
It stands
me.
for spot, assess, develop, recruit.
He's talking Russian shit now. Colors, take notes. I'm sure you're taking notes. Brett, thank you so much. I do like to think the way I look is the least impressive thing about me, but thank you for the compliment. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much.
Handle, terminate. It's a human intelligence process
Hi,
to basically take
Lady V,
someone
good
from
to
being
see
a
you.
patriot for their country and turning them into a traitor that supports you.
Okay, you got to break that down. That's fascinating.
Literally
Colors,
a
they're
process
talking
to change
spy
a person's
shit?
loyalty.
If you wake up every morning
God, an ad.
craving that first cup of coffee, but also actually
Yes.
dreading this
No, I don't get bloating.
endless wellness, or you
Find a group of people who are susceptible to what you're trying to do, which is convert them and convert their loyalty to you, to make them loyal to you or loyal to your country or your organization. So spotting is about finding the people that you want to convert. In the Dirty John case, he was using an app to spot. Then you move to assessment. Assessment means you are probing to test certain aspects of the person. In the most common aspects, you want to test their reliability, their suitability, and their controllability. So what that means is, are they suitable for what you want them to do, right? So in Dirty John's case, he's looking for someone suitable to be conned. And then you want to test for reliability. Can you reliably expect them to do what you ask them to do, right? Give you a phone number, respond to your message, whatever else it might be. He can use the app to see how long does it take her to respond to my message? How often does she respond? Does she give me more information or do I give her more information? That's all testing for reliability. And then controllability. Controllability is...
I cannot stress enough how much eyeballing per Lisa Billier I was doing as I was watching all of this just a few nights ago. It was very enlightening. I'm now again going,
is when you tell them what to do and it may not be in their best interest. So if you can tell them, well, why don't you take Sunday off or take Friday off and meet me for lunch? If they do that, you're testing their controllability, right? So now we've gotten from spot and assess. Now we're going into development because you know the person is suitable, is reliable, and is controllable. So all you do in development is you reinforce the idea that what you have is superior to what they want, to get them to believe that they've been wrong the whole time and that they need to trust you. You've heard the term gaslighting. This is very similar to gaslighting because inside development, what you're doing is you're preparing for the final step, which is the R. It stands for recruit, S-A-D-R. Recruit is when you finally tell the person, your loyalty should be to me and not to this other thing that you're loyal to. So in the Dirty John case, he basically made it clear to her, your loyalty is to me, not your friends, not your family. I care the most about you. You should care the most about me. Your opinion matters the most to me. My opinion should matter the most to you.
She's freaking out, man.
I'm sure that we've seen this before in other relationships, right? Once you have that recruitment in place, then the A is, it's a government acronym. So the A actually stands for handle. Handle starts with the letter H, but government acronym. So they use the letter A. In the handling phase, all you're doing is you're reinforcing and constantly practicing the behaviors that you have trained into them during the developmental phase, right? So this is where you start seeing people who want to keep secrets, right? This is where you see physical and emotional abuse take place. And then the abuser basically says, you can't tell anybody. This is our business. I'm going to get better, right? Just keep it between us. Let me work on this. Be my, help me with this, whatever it might be.
An interesting one, isn't it?
It's a process of reinforcing already trained behaviors that suit the manipulator and don't suit the target themselves until you get to the place where it's terminate. Terminate is basically where the handler or the abuser says, I got what I need. I'm out. And they leave you high and dry, broke, alone, and dejected. That's the whole SADRAT process. That developmental process that I was telling you about in the middle, where you're training those key behaviors, that is where no like trust comes in. No like trust is the tool that you use to get them to adopt your behaviors. And how do you get them to adopt those behaviors? Because they like you so much that they eventually trust you. And once they trust you, they'll do whatever you tell them to do.
Wow. That was such a beautiful way of actually breaking that down. And I have such incredible compassion for anyone, obviously because my show's Women of Impact, but for women who get trapped in that cycle. And it is very deliberate. And I
Thanks,
like that you said
Princey.
it's not weakness, right? It's like showing vulnerability to somebody in a situation where you want to be vulnerable because you want to build a relationship is beautiful. And it pains me that people would then beat themselves up and then not trust themselves anymore because they've been there.
They're doing the right thing. The person who is vulnerable is the person in the right.
Right.
It's the abuser who's taking advantage of it, right? Like it's just like we said at the beginning of our conversation. When you have two opposites that approach in a healthy manner, you have the combination for a super couple. But when you have one person with malicious intent approaching one person with vulnerable, honest intent, now you have a recipe for quite the opposite.
And so, I mean, the story gets even worse if people don't actually know what happened. So the daughter is the one who's very...
Tara, lovely girl. She's a delight. Oh, dirty pause. Sorry, Lisa. Just going to say, cool joke. What do you get if you put a duck in a cement mixer? Quacks in the pavement. How good does this yellow background look? It's a lot easier on the eyes, huh? I'll do some more like this because my brain prefers the soothe of it all. Also, sidebar, had some rather exciting news about Joe Flexback. Not so much for me or us, but for Justice Served. There could be something happening on Justice Served TV on Monday at 12 Eastern. Gag order's been lifted in the ASAP Rocky trial. Just saying, stay posted.
Very suspicious, right? You said they went and hired a private detective. All this stuff's coming out. He's got a criminal record and things like that. And then one day, so the mom eventually tells Dirty John, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore. So one day, the daughter, Tara Noor.
I have a feeling that was JM. I have a feeling that was Joey or maybe Shunned One gifted out those memberships, but you're welcome and welcome to members. We've got lots of cool emojis in the chat for members.
Well, I'll just read this to you. Had gotten out of her car in the parking garage of her apartment building, opened the door for her dog to hop out on August 20th, 2016, when suddenly she found herself in a fight for her life. He grabs me by the waist and he looks me in the eyes and says, "Do you remember me?" She said he began stabbing her with a knife. This is a quote of hers, but I am not aware that he's stabbing me because the knife is in a Del Taco bag. And she just thinks that he's punching her. So I think he's punching me and he keeps on trying to grab me, put his hand over my mouth. I bite as hard as I can and I just keep trying to get away from him. Tara ends up fighting back and ends up stabbing him in the eye and forehead of a total of 13 times. And she ends up killing him.
Wow. So
I'm not sure whether this is an appropriate moment to break for this, but Missy Mayhem is messaging me and apparently Linda Kenny Barden had to explain to Joe Tacopina what thirsting was. So there's that. Shorties, the internet is forever. We just think we're in our little community saying like on Joe Tacopina, Joe Flexback, Joe Sexback, and then next minute he hears about it.
So I kind of like the way that story ends.
I do that too. It's like I don't want to wish death on anyone, but
it's true. God. But yeah, but when someone is attacking you, and I mean that's when animal instinct takes over.
JM.
And it's kill or be killed.
Yeah.
There's so much that had to
Thank
go
you.
wrong
What the fuck?
for her to get to the place where she was assaulted by her own car. We think of our automobiles, we think of them as an extension of our home, as a safe place for us, and we oftentimes forget that they're not as safe as we think they are because they can be put into unsafe situations and unsafe circumstances. But with that turn in the story, it's important for us to highlight that not only was Dirty John,
you really are,
Colors. Con
must be your military position,
but on a spectrum of con man behavior, he was far to the extreme of what we call ASPD or antisocial personality disorder. That's the same realm as psychopaths and sociopaths. And one of the telltale signs of a psychopath over a sociopath is their tendency to violence. Think about what it takes. It's so rare that people think about what it takes to actually assault another human being. How difficult that must be. to hold a knife, to hold a gun, to take someone's life, to cause them mortal danger.
Not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know.
He premeditated it, carrying a knife, hiding the knife in a bag. This was not accidental. He knew where she was going to be and when she was going to be there, most likely because she was walking her dog in the same place that she always walks her dog, right? When you think about what effort a person has to put into doing a violent crime like that, you start to realize how different they are from the average person. Like, even just punching somebody is a hard thing, because that's exactly how you find out whether or not the person you're suspicious of deserves.
So the link to this is in the description box. I just said that before and then second guessed myself. I'm pretty sure it is, but I'll double put it in there. But if you want to watch this full episode, that's where you'll find it. Also on the place, dropped it in the share your links here, and also in the narcissists drawer. So if we skip through a bit, that's why.
Deserves that suspicion, or whether you're just being paranoid. You have to test them. So one of the best ways to test somebody for empathy is to make an unpredictable or unpredicted change. Just change something, right? If you all agree that you're going to go to dinner on Tuesday night, cancel dinner on Tuesday night and recommend let's go Wednesday instead. If they roll with that change easily, and if you test them more than one time, because one test by itself isn't really a test, right? It's a test over days, weeks, months. If you can make changes and they can accept those changes gracefully, then there's a very good chance that you're dealing with a normal, rational human being. If you start making changes and then they start guilting you or accusing you, or if they start getting angry, if they have volatile emotions that are in line with the changes that you're proposing, it shows that they already think that their time is more valuable than your time, which now is an indicator that you're either dealing with somebody who is immature, or you're dealing with somebody who is on that spectrum of personality disorder, whether it's narcissism or whether it's antisocial behavior. But if they can't handle change, it's a good sign that you're not dealing with somebody who sees you as an equal.
So with Dirty John, we would have seen, if they had asked him certain questions, they would have seen him potentially getting angry or having an visceral emotional response to something that is maybe not as extreme.
Correct, because I mean, change happens all the time, right? And in a situation where people are equal, like a healthy relationship, this is something that people don't often realize. A healthy relationship is transactional. I have something that benefits you, you have something that benefits me, so we
Britt, I can't remember whether it's in this video or the next video where they do talk about, not the one we're not watching it tonight, but that I watched, where he does talk about autistic folk and how there can be that sort of overlap in lack of affect and empathy. Not for all autistic folks. Can't remember which it is, but it did grate on me a little bit, because it was sort of like, careful what you're saying about autistic people when you're not autistic, because there was some stuff that was very binary, and autistic folks, like any neurotypical folk, there's not one identical in personality or traits and behaviors autistic person. We're all unique. It's a spectrum. So he makes a few blanket statements, and I think so does she. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give you a pass because the rest is pretty good.
We share our benefits together. And in an ideal relationship, us sharing our benefits results in a net win for both of us. So the sum is greater than the total of the two parts, right? So a healthy relationship should be transactional, give and take. Sometimes I need your help, sometimes you need my help. In an unhealthy relationship, it's very one way. It's a zero-sum game. One person wins, one person loses. So you have to test whether your partner is willing to give and take, or whether they're just there to take. Going, again, back to the empirical evidence of the predominance of ISFJ women. And I know that there's lots of different types of codes, and there are women of all types of Myers-Briggs personality types. But the empirical evidence is 1 in 5 women is ISFJ. That ISFJ.
Good night, Matilda. Thank you for everything you're doing for our channel and for the website. Wait, did I mention there's a website that designed by Matilda? Let me show you. Here, MissShorty.com. Check it out. It's a whole thing. Miss Shorty Swing. Together we make each other happy. Soon to be a merch store. Not yet. Social media links, music, some of the songs. some of the songs, YouTubey stuff. Pretty cool, huh? There's a contact me tab. So if anybody wants to talk to me, they can go to the website and I will get that email and reply. Cool, huh? There's also, and Steph, I'll write it for you. A meet the mod squad. Meet our mods. We are a team. Those are just generic things to be replaced, and it's not everybody's listed there. So, so that missshorty.com. Thank you, Matilda. Sweet dreams. You have been working hard for the last 24 hours. I'm sure for all your life, but we appreciate you very much. You're very clever and very creative, and we love it.
Feels like she should trust this person, even though what she's seeing and what she's hearing tells her she shouldn't trust that person. She feels like she should. She sees that she shouldn't, but then she falls on her J, which tells her that as a woman in Western society, it's the right thing to do to give the benefit of the doubt. It's the right thing to do to give somebody a second chance. It's the right thing to do to let them prove themselves. And it's a tricky and difficult place to be. The more you test, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more information you have to challenge your instincts, which make you feel like you have to trust somebody that you shouldn't trust.
And is there sometimes like a piece of information that we hold on to as quote unquote evidence that we keep going back to, but maybe that's false evidence as well? And the reason why I asked you is Dirty John, apparently everyone said, oh, he was always saying like what a great father he was, and like, you know, he was so loving to his two daughters. And so let's say you're meeting him for the first time, you hear about, oh my God, he's this great father. Maybe you meet the daughters, you think, oh my God, they've got a great relationship. Then you see signs on the contrary, but you keep going back to maybe false evidence that no, but I must be imagining it because he's clearly an amazing father.
So what you're talking about now is something we call the relevancy principle. The relevancy principle dictates that whatever is the most relevant should carry the most empirical weight. So if you made a delicious steak 2 years ago, but every steak that you've made since then has just not been right, I shouldn't keep asking you to make steak, because over time, what you're showing is that you have lost relevancy in the art of making a good steak. It's the same thing with Dirty John. Could he have been a good father? Sure. Could he have been a good father 4 days ago? Sure.
Anyway, moving on. This bit. Most replayed. Thanks. We'll watch that.
In this Brazilian corrupt family, this is where he kind of built 30s. So there's all sorts of different places where people start to doubt themselves. But
with this book, you can go out a step closer towards that vision.
Distrust for themselves. And then as we get to know and find those people, we then start to look for what the source is of their distrust of themselves. And when we find that the source of their distrust stems back to their childhood.
Is that typically where it comes from?
It comes from different places. So there are some people who distrust themselves because they made poor decisions in college, or they made bad decisions with money when they were, in their 20s or 30s. So there's all sorts of different places where people start to doubt themselves. But when you find someone whose self-doubt stems back to their childhood, now what you know is you have somebody who is deeply conditioned to be dependent on someone else. So George Santos was a politician, a corrupt politician who lied about his accolade, lied about everything, and still made it to Congress.
That sounds crazy.
When you look at his background, he came from a very poor Brazilian family where he was one of several children, where mom and dad were highly successful, and the children were kind of left to fend for themselves with a rotating door of nannies and whatever else, right? So in this Brazilian corrupt family, this is where he kind of built his foundation. This is where his wiring was made. So is anybody surprised that as he became a 40-year-old male in the United States in a predominantly paternal society, that he felt absolute comfort lying about his educational background, about his work history, about everything else to win a vote? And then is it not the ultimate con to basically con a constituency into voting for you? I mean, that is exactly how manipulation works. You manipulate the emotions of people who are susceptible to that manipulation. So he knew what the right message.
Princey, coercive control is a very, very, very powerful tool, and many, many women are warned and implored to leave dangerous men. And I'm sure there's many men implored and warned to leave dangerous women too. But, statistically, it tends to be women being abused and coercively controlled. So I've been in those relationships, and it's the same kind of thing as you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And if one assumes that Dirty John did have her completely controlled and under his spell, the hypnosis that tends to be seen in full-blown narcissists and psychopaths, it's yes, it's easier said than done. Yes, it's a tough one.
Message was with the right
Tara didn't
district to get voted by saying the right.
Tara hated him. Tara wouldn't go over to the mother's house. She just wouldn't. She couldn't stand him. They couldn't stand him. Their intuition told them that he was bad news and bad for their mother. I believe he conned her out of a lot of money, as well as being dangerous. I think that was it as well, right? It's been about 3 or 4 years since I listened to that podcast.
The right things, just like spies collect assets by knowing what to say and how to change the vein of trust so that the target trusts the spy or trusts the con man, or a constituency trusts their congressional representative, or somebody trusts their doctor, or somebody trusts the CEO of a company.
Okay, well, you've teased us enough now. You've got to tell us what that manipulation what do you call it?
Yeah, the progression.
Progression, yeah. Do you mind breaking it down?
Pay attention.
So the first thing that you're looking for, if you remember, I talk about sense making.
Mm-hmm.
So sense making is a process that was refined and identified during the Vietnam War in the 1970s, because it was very difficult for American interrogators to get information from the Viet Cong who were being captured. So the United States Army invested in this massive psychological program to be able to identify how we can systematically change someone's loyalty, or how we can systematically manipulate people to a place where they comply with your bidding. So the first step in the sense-making process is called avoidance. And what avoidance means is you have to accept and acknowledge that every time you approach a stranger, their natural instinct is avoidance. And if you really think about it, it's how all of us are. The first time you meet somebody new, you actually want to avoid them, and they actually want to avoid you. But it's the societal construct that makes us say things like, good morning, how are you? What do you say 9 times out of 10 when somebody says, how are you?
Fine.
Even if it's not true.
This
because
is really good.
In your mind, what you're really thinking is, how do I end this conversation? How do I avoid talking to a stranger? I'm already thinking about something else. I'm already going somewhere else. The last thing I want to do is actually be present and thoughtful in this conversation with a stranger, right? So avoidance is the place where it all starts. So inside of sense making, you have to account for the fact that when you first approach somebody, they will try to avoid you. So a manipulator inherently understands that the first time they approach a target, the target will want to avoid them. Now, the tricky part to avoidance is that within the societal culture that we live in, persistence is deemed a value. It's deemed something that we appreciate and honor. So when you try to avoid somebody, but that other person is persistent in catching your attention, or in the case of a manipulator, they're persistent in giving you something that you want, then all of a sudden you move out of avoidance and you stop trying to avoid them. And instead you move into the next phase of the sense-making cycle, which is called competition. Competition is when there's an exchange of ideas.
Right,
and
JM, the Irish
sometimes it's heated, like sometimes it's, I disagree with you. And other times it's, tell me more, or let me, prove it to me. Competition is this push-pull where relationships start to get built. Manipulators understand you have to push through avoidance to get to competition. But once somebody is in the competition phase of sense-making, what they're really showing you is that they're willing to exchange ideas with you. If you think of it in terms of something we call social capital, it's a CIA term. Social capital means I'm investing my capital in you, and I'm expecting a return on my investment. That's what competition is. So you push somebody through avoidance, you get them to start sharing their opinions and their ideas. Well, once you start telling me your opinions and your ideas, what you're doing is investing in this relationship.
So once you get them talking, you know that that's the first hook.
Exactly right.
The sunk cost fallacy, right? Am I muted? Amazing. I'm not. Amber, the sunk cost fallacy. I've invested time and energy in this person. We have a dynamic now. Doesn't have to be.
Right. Once you push past avoidance, which you know you can do with a susceptible target, Dirty John knew he could do it. The Tinder swindler knew he could do it, because with the right person, they can't avoid for very long, because their J makes them feel like they're being rude, and then society dictates that you at least show some friendly exchange.
And like you had said way earlier, is that you just go out and do it multiple times and it's the one person. So let's say you get avoidance from 20 people, but then maybe that one person ends up going into the, sorry, what was the phase?
They go into the competition
phase. So that's when they're like, okay, so now let me narrow in on this person.
Focus my resources and close the distance. Right. So then in competition, you're getting them to exchange their ideas. The whole reason that you invest in that person with your social capital inside of that competition phase is because you know that after enough competition, they will be so invested in the relationship that they will start to look for your validation. Validation that your ideas are credible, or validation that you need to change the way that you think. And then the final phase after competition is called compliance. And compliance is exactly what it sounds like. Inside the compliance phase.
Yes, Joey. Rather garish jewelry. Very, very, very expensive. Her necklace is a Chanel necklace. Have you looked at her shoes? Have you seen her hair? There's nothing subtle about this lady. I feel a little bit like maybe she's channeling me, or I'm channeling her. I just don't have that kind of resources. Nothing much subtle about me either. Missy, thanks for being here, Missy. Oh my God. You can't pull a Higgins. Are you sure though?
Well.
Keep going, sir. Andrew, tell us all the secrets.
Phase, you have now outsourced some element of your thinking or some element of your decision making to the other person. How often do you go to Tom, your husband, and ask him his thoughts on something?
All the time.
How often do you ask him to help you make a decision?
A lot.
That's
sometimes
compliance.
I almost know, though, he's going to influence me. And so I deliberately don't ask him because I need to figure out my own answer.
And that's you being self-aware enough to know that you don't want to be
compliant. Need to get home now.
You want to be independent, right? But you are a highly educated, successful, experienced woman over 40. You have that. You have learned that the hard way. There are lots of men and women out there who have yet to learn that lesson, who believe that there's something honorable about finding a partner who they trust so much that they can outsource every decision, every conversation. They can be totally transparent.
Autonomy is important to me,
because they're looking for that marriage that we were talking about early on, where it's two opposites who complement each other. When you're so dedicated to finding that perfect fit.
Should we have a music break? We've been going with this for a while. Yes. Let's have a music break. What do you think, chat? What do you think? Nothing too wild because it's late. Nothing too... Oh, you know what? This is kind of fitting. Here we go.
I'm so disappointed. I love, never anointed. Give me love, feeling disjointed. Show me love, my faith appointed. Love is love. Dust it settles, mind still blown. Heart it is still broken. Lessons learned. Lifetime lonely, reality sets in. I'm so disappointed. I love, never anointed. Give me love, feeling disjointed. Show me love, my faith appointed. Love is love. All that we want is to be loved. The cold hard light of blue. Human condition weaves away, suffocating through and through. My person, not my person. No, it wasn't love at all. But oh my God, empty got me completely enthralled. I'm so disappointed. I love, never anointed. Give me love, feeling disjointed. Show me love, my faith appointed. Love is love. One day me never after. You say, oh hey, not a fucking disaster. Deplete, replete, inexorably woven. Same old, hell no, destiny is chosen. I'm so disappointed. I love love, never anointed. Give me love, feeling disjointed. Show me love, my faith appointed. Love is love. I love love, give me love, show me love. Love is love. Love is love. Love is love.
That was just a bit depressing, wasn't it? That's the essence, really, of, I think, why some women fall for fucking narcissists and manipulators, because they're like, oh my God, just want to be in love.
You're oftentimes more susceptible and willing to accept an imperfect fit and just choosing to ignore the warning signs.
Mm-hmm. So that compliant piece is the final piece that they know, okay, they are now reliant on me and I can influence them in a way that I wasn't able to.
Correct.
Before.
If you go back to the larger SAD-RAT, the SAD-RAT process,
and easy,
all of that
obviously.
compliance, competition, and avoidance phase, that all happens inside of know, like, trust. That all happens inside of the development phase. And once you know that you have a reliable, susceptible, controllable source, once you know that they're suitable to constantly be manipulated, then you move them into the recruitment phase of that relationship. And now you switch their loyalty. They are no longer...
Sorry, mate. Moving along. If you want to watch it, link, description box. Love, love, love. Breaking down real-world con artist methods. Yes.
Father was, I think, the president or CEO of Enron. Her mother was a very well-established, she was probably raised by a series of nannies and tutors. Sociopathy is a combination of genetics and environment.
Wait.
Because you expect this from a man, you don't expect this from a woman, right? There is still a there's still a prevalence, though it's not the majority, there's still a prevalence of antisocial personality disorders, psychopaths and sociopaths, who are women.
Good old Miguel, but
they absolutely exist. They don't exist to the same frequency as men, but they do exist because, again, we have to remember that that type of behavior, that's psychopathy or sociopathy, is a combination of genetics and environment. Elizabeth Holmes grew up in a very well-to-do house. With her father was, I think, the president or CEO of Enron.
Interesting.
Her mother was a very well-established staffer in Washington, D.C. When you put two people of that much power together, you can almost guarantee that they were not present and attentive parents. She was probably raised by a series of nannies and tutors and who knows who else, right? Maybe even a grandmother or something like that. Who knows who actually created the foundation for her? But in addition to whatever foundation was created, you can also see that she was conditioned that if she wasn't successful, financially successful, fame successful, if she wasn't in a position of high power, she was not going to be accepted by her parents. So very quickly, you can see, going through our process of looking at the childhood to understand the manipulator, you can see the foundation from where her antisocial behavior came from. That doesn't mean you have to accept it or sympathize with it, but it gives you a rubric so that you can see, oh, if you take the gender away, you basically have the same ingredients that happened with the Tinder swindler, that happened with Dirty John, that happened with George Santos. They're all just mirror images of each other. And while genetics play an element, they don't play as big of a role as environment.
God, that
same principle.
The thinking of the foundation really helps you go, oh yeah, so you shouldn't be biased when it's a female, because they have just as, I mean, maybe not just as much tendencies, but they've got the foundation, then they've got the ability. But it was so fascinating to see. I don't know if you ever saw like older videos of her and her when she was at the top, where everyone thought that she was like the go and this was going to be the biggest company in the world. Her voice changed. So they literally pulled videos of her when she was in her teenage years and she has a normal voice, and then pull videos of her now and she talks like this. She then also changed her clothes. So like the whole documentary on her is fascinating because she would look at the successful people around her. Like she deliberately manipulated people and molded herself into being the thing that would give people the comfort to invest in her. And so she put on these polo necks like Steve Jobs. So she wore black and she wore jeans. So she tried to mimic Steve Jobs and how he dressed. She had read research about tone of voice and how commanding a room, actually, if you go deeper voice, then you can command a room more. So she starts to change her voice. I mean, like the things that she did in order to get that money is insane. It clearly worked.
Yeah.
But my question is, would it have worked if she was a guy?
I would say yes. I would say it would. And here's why. Because
Agree.
One of the things that makes antisocial personality disorder, so sociopaths and psychopaths, one of the things that makes them so dangerous, is that they can distance themselves from emotion, and they can look very rationally at patterns. So just like you're explaining, she discovered that there was a pattern to changing her speech that would make her more attractive to investors. You only get that by being able to distance yourself from the emotion. I mean, just think about anybody who works in a nonprofit. When they talk about their nonprofit, they get very excited, right? They have a very sing-song voice and they show lots of energy. That turns investors off, because investors are like, I see you have lots of energy. Show me it's going to work. So she had to distance herself from that and train herself to adopt a different tone of voice. She had to train herself to adopt a different style. She had to train, and that's just what we saw. That's just what you see in the videos. Think about what she must have had to do when she went to investor meetings, or when she was out in public, or when she went to negotiations at the negotiating table. She had to change everything about herself. Who can do that? Most people, if they feel like they have to change who they are, they actually just leave. They leave the job, they go work somewhere else, they change their career. That's not what she did. She changed herself to make herself more successful. That is a key behavior in your antisocial personality disorder, because they are able, because they lack empathy, they are able to adopt practical, rational changes that make them more attractive to the lay person. It's a powerful tool that undermines you and me and every normal person out there. It undermines our own survival instincts, because they conform to something that we find attractive. They conform to someone who is stoic. We're attracted to someone who is stoic. They conform to someone who is predictable and precise and consistent. We're attracted to all of those things. So it's so difficult if you don't have the multiple phase gates that we've talked about. If you don't ask yourself, is this person 1 of 10? If you don't ask yourself, do I like them too fast? If you don't give yourself time, distance, and change in direction, if you don't put those barriers in place, then you're going to just jump right over them, because the person that you're talking to is so appealing. It is the very fact that they're so appealing that should make you second guess them.
So when I think about how on earth, so talking about, the con men, this woman has become so famous for it, because no other female really has done it to that extreme. So that's what made me then ask, how much did she actually use seduction as part of the manipulation tool to get, I'm just going to be honest, they were old white men with a lot of money. At least that's what the movie made, the documentary made out. But like, how much of it was her using seduction as a female as part of that strategy, along with everything else that you said, to land those deals?
So what I've read, I don't know whether or not she was actively seducing donors.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But what I do know is that she was in a secret relationship with the COO.
Oh.
So if you think about it, the number one person that she would have needed to achieve her goals would be an inside threat or an insider. And an insider inside the executive team is the perfect person to have. Because what are your investors going to do? They're going to ask the chief of operations to validate the claims of the chief executive officer. So she was having a clandestine affair with the COO. And the COO was the one who was complicit in validating her false information. So whether she was the one who originated the idea, or whether or not that seduction was a form of manipulation on her part, we don't know for sure. But the elements are there. Like, the elements are there to see that somebody was a puppet master, somebody was the one coming up with the ideas, and somebody was the one following the lead of the puppet master. What I think is so fascinating is, even though we live in a society where it's very natural and common for us to put blame on men and for us to accommodate women with some sort of assumed innocence, in this case, she was so involved and she was so complicit in the illegal activity that people are just, they're not giving her the benefit of the doubt that she was anything other than the ringleader, which speaks to me. It speaks to the value of information and transparency and the changing nature of some of our base assumptions.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that we spoke about it today, because I didn't want our base assumptions to be, going back to what I said earlier, the wolf with the fangs and the drawl, right? It's like, no,
Nope.
it can actually come in any shape and size, and it can be the thing that you don't expect. And so, yeah, I actually didn't realize that she was in a secretive relationship with a COO. That makes a lot more sense.
Makes a lot more sense.
And now I'm really curious to know which one happened first, right?
I agree.
Did she get into the relationship with the COO and that led to her then being able to manipulate? Fascinating.
It's one of the things that I always try to think through. I'm a man of faith. I come from a Christian background. And people talk about Satan, Lucifer, right? The ultimate demon.
Oh my God, Lucifer's entered
and
the
a lot
chat.
of times we create in our minds this idea that the villain, the demon, is scary and dark and fangs, just like you described the wolf. Every account of Satan is that he is beautiful. He's handsome, right? He is attractive in all ways, which is why he was able to trick Eve, even as a serpent. Something as villainous as we think snakes are in the Garden of Good and Evil, before anybody had the knowledge of good and evil, a serpent was just neutral. So biblically, we have been warned that Satan, the ultimate form of evil, is very attractive. And then when you look at even the cases we talk about, Elizabeth was a very attractive woman.
Yeah.
Fun fact, not in this video, but in the other one that I keep referencing, that we will watch eventually. It's kind of a little more practical, a little less CIA storytelling. He mentions that he's a very religious man, like he's a godly man, him, Andrew. So interesting that he's using these references.
Have you seen pictures of the Tinder swindler? He was a good-looking dude. Well, these are not the people that you would look at and reject. They are the kind of people that you would look at and be immediately and be attracted to. They are appealing people. They look normal, they look fit, they look handsome or pretty. Like they are the equivalent of what the Bible has always warned us about with Lucifer, which to me is so interesting because what CIA trains us to be is called gray men. We hide in plain sight. We blend in. One of the keys to us blending in is that we cannot be attractive and we cannot be hideous.
Interesting.
Because both of those extremes would make you memorable. So if you ever actually get a chance to walk through the halls of CIA, what you see is a bunch of nondescript, not unattractive, but not attractive people, because you need to be able to blend in. So unless somebody is into crazy hair and a giant 5 head and a big Greek nose, they're not going to think that I'm attractive, right? I grew up just like you grew up, bullied about my looks, bullied about how thin I was, and I wasn't a handsome white guy in a white state. Like that was my upbringing. So for me to find power in the anonymity made me very susceptible to CIA's pitch to come essentially dedicate my life in service to my country.
Wow.
And it's so contrary to what Hollywood and what movies make us think. Hollywood and movies make us think that there's power in being beautiful. There is, but it's manipulative power, right? The real power that you get from life is in doing what you say you will do, and being a person of action, and being a person of conviction, and being a person that people can rely on, because when people can rely on you, they will let you into their private life and their secret life. And what we have to remember is that no matter how beautiful a person is, no matter how non-threatening a person looks, they must show us the same thing. They must show us consistency. They must show us constant respect. They must show us some sort of continuity to earn our trust, instead of just slipping us into trust because we like them so much.
Yeah, or falling into trust. Talk to me about then the power of seduction. How much are you guys taught that? How much of espionage are you allowed to talk about?
Oh, espionage. Let's talk about that.
What espionage is, and then how the power of seduction in what you do, and then just in the real world of when it comes to a female being manipulated.
Absolutely. So there's
pause. I always say pause when I'm pausing. Do you like that? Is it annoying? I'm not sorry. Let me see. It's late. It's too long. It's too long. It's too loud. Here we go.
Was it you? How about you? Come on, tell me now. Who knew? Yeah, I have my suspicions. Do unto others conscience is to the soul, what instinct is to the body. Audacity to ask, what the fuck's this Clyde and Bonnie? It's okay with you to get all up in my business. Nah, it's not. So are you happy with all this? Got down with your meddling, and now you're backpedaling. May your conscience get the best of you, and go fuck all the rest of you. Was it you? How about you? Come on, tell me now, who the hell knew? Yeah, my suspicions do unto others, others do unto you. I grind your gears so freaking hard, my existence just kills you. You just couldn't leave me be. I saw you, all eyes on you, and still I let it go. You had to get fucking involved. You think that I don't know? May your conscience get the best of you, and go fuck all the rest of you. Was it you? How about you? Come on, tell me now, who the hell knew? Yeah, my suspicions do unto others, others do unto you. Stay out of my space, get out of my face. I am literally, absolutely fucking done with you. Was it you? How about you? Come on, tell me now, who the hell knew? Yeah, my suspicions do unto others, others do unto you. May your conscience get the best of you, and go fuck all the rest of you. Do unto others, others do unto you. Peace. Peace.
Yes, a musical interlude. It's been some hours, and we're still going for a little bit longer. Thank you for being here. I'm trying to play more calming, soothing, but not too long songs for our musical interludes. We have a variety show now. Wait, actually, before I get going, chat. No need for alarm. A little bit of alarm. I after this, I need to record a 2 or 3 minute video to be played for Mr. Joe Tacopina while he's on Justice Served on Tuesday at midday. I said Monday before, but I was wrong. Tuesday, 12 Eastern. Thank you, Simi. There's only three creators being given this opportunity to speak via video to Mr. Tacopina, myself, Bob Motta and Ali Motta, Defense Diaries, and Arfi, Black Letter Law. I'm just saying that's kind of huge. So no security clearance questions. Yes, Princey, yes. Yes. Monday is President's Day. Yes. So that scared me for a second. So you knew. So cool. Keel. Thanks, Joey. Yes. Wow. Feathering cap. Linda Barden loves us. Loves me. She thinks I'm a fucking delight. My words, paraphrasing. So that's why I've been on my phone a little bit, just communicating with Missy Mayhem. I think we can all agree that this is relevant right now.
Good for them. I'm happy. But I just want to make sure that I am still held in the highest esteem of the system. It's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
You know, should I say, by the way, MissShorty.com? Thank you. What the fuck? I don't know if I'll ask him how much he benches, but I could infer that kind of a question. She knows I'm a delight. Shit. Typo. Manifesting. right? Missy manifested it. I sent some manifesting over that way, and here we are. It's pretty exciting. Like, I mean, Bob Motter and I are like this anyway. So, and Afy's amazing. Like, that's kind of, it's very synchronistic, right? I started my YouTube, excuse me, viewing as a Bob Motter Defense Diaries was. I came over from listening to his podcast to his channel on YouTube, right? And then by way of Bob, started listening to and watching Shaming of Jay, which is how I met many, many of you, like Missy, Amber, who else? Simmy's in that crew. Thank you, LB. Thank you. Like Charlotte Perkin, Dizzy, Tracy K, Mandy Joe, all of my beautiful friends here. And so it's quite amazing that then, and like Afi used to be in Jay's chat, and we knew that she was an attorney and she was amazing. And then isn't that wild though, that here I am like 2 years later watching this trial. Ugh, my brain cells dying with the audio, and still friends with all these amazing people, and that beautiful network. And network has a sort of a slightly negative connotation, but I don't think it's negative at all. I feel blessed. Thank you so much, Missy. We have big things and manifestation happening in the back end, so to speak, for Camp Shorty, Miss Shorty, and that includes like weathering the last few months, knowing that it's just a drop in the ocean. So thank you so much all for your loving support and your encouragement, and Missy for your believing in me and allowing us to share or restream or snipe, I think it's called, Just to Serve TV stuff. Love, love, love. Love you too, gorgeous. You're still awake, Vixie? What the fuck? Yes. So we'll go back to this heavy duty shit. What was that song before? It wasn't that one just then. It was the song before. I think it was Love is Love. Did anyone pick up on the typo that I wrote into the lyrics accidentally? It says Hunan instead of human, Hunan. It makes me chuckle every time. Let's go back to this guy talking about hectic, wild CIA shit.
Sexpionage is
sexpionage.
A term that merges sex and espionage. And to really understand what sexpionage is, you have to understand what espionage is. And espionage is the stealing of secrets. It's illegal everywhere. It's illegal in corporations. It's illegal in national security. It's illegal in the United States. It's illegal everywhere. The reason that intelligence community agencies like CIA or NSA, the reason that we can engage in espionage is because there's a carve-out inside the American legal code that makes it so that if you're carrying out espionage activities on behalf of the federal government in foreign locations, you won't be convicted inside the United States, right? So that's what makes espionage legal for CIA and NSA and DIA, et cetera. Sexpionage is the place where sex is part of the operation.
Saturday night chat.
Espionage.
Wow, flex so back, that's where sex back in this guy.
Sexpionage is very, very popular in authoritarian countries. China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, some places like Turkey and Cuba.
I feel great.
These are countries where they leverage sexpionage because
You'll know, just quickly, because it's exciting. Hang on. This is what we've got, MissShorty.com. It's a whole thing. Miss Shorty Swing. MissShorty.com. There's a contact me thing. Thank you so much to Matilda, who's gone to bed now, for designing this amazing website. Thank you so much, Joey, for securing the what is it called again? Fuck, every time. What's it called? No, I'm not even looking at chat, so how am I going to know? Fuck, I said it before. Domain. Got it. Boom. Took me a while. Music stuff, still building it. There's a few more things. We're going to have a merch shop. It's there, but it's not there yet. Yes. Eee! Pretty exciting. Anyway, carry on, Mr. Sexpionage man. Fine. Let's talk sexpionage. Cool.
The rights of the individual are reduced, and
Thank
the
you,
survival
domain.
of the
Thanks,
state
me.
is paramount. Inside the United States, the rights of the individual are very, very strong. So in the United States, we do not encourage, enforce, or demand our officers engage.
Joey Siemens in the banned words list. It's up there with moist, panties, semen, and dongle. So, I mean, let's not say semen, if that's okay. Too bad I said semen.
Engage in any kind of sexpionage. In fact, we actually train quite the opposite. We train the opposite because in the Western mindset, once sex has occurred, there's a sense of connection, a sense of intimacy that's ingrained, that's wired into us by our culture.
You.
So once, whether you're male or female, once that line has been crossed, you feel an intrinsic sense of connection and obligation to your partner in sex. Even if it's a hookup, you still feel some kind of connection, which is oftentimes what makes people run away from their hookups, because they feel that connection, it scares them, and then they're like, oh, to hell with that, I gotta get away, right? If it was truly just a friend with benefits, truly just an innocent hookup, then it would be very different.
Woo!
Europe actually has a closer
Late
sense
night
of like
shorty.
casual sex than anybody in the United States. So sexpionage is the act of using sex to get secrets illegally. Very,
That's
very
what Nick
popular
does.
with our adversaries, and exceptionally effective against Americans.
Not a deal breaker.
Because we, inside the United States, we have one of the most conservative cultures when it comes to sex. Even still, even with how prevalent porn is and how prevalent dating apps are and casual hookups, and we have codes for everything. Even with all that, sex is still something that lives in our secret life, right? We don't want to talk to even our closest friends and family. We don't want to talk about sex. We don't want to talk about who we had
even on
sex
Camp
with,
Shorty, it's a little bit hot in here.
The details, whatever else. In other parts of the world, like in Europe, that's not a thing.
Yeah, in Europe, nudity on TV, no one cares.
No one cares. That's how it is, right? In Latin America, it's the same way, right? They'll tell these stories about what happens, men and women alike, because they'll trust their internal groups. Even in the Middle East, one of the most conservative parts of the world, women will share details with other women, men will share details with other men, but men don't talk to women, so it's a different story, right? So we have a very unique susceptibility because of our Anglo-Saxon waspy ways, where sex is something that is very embarrassing and shameful to us. Even in a married relationship, we still don't really talk about sex. We talk about miscarriages, and we talk about not having children, and we talk about whatever the byproducts of sex. But it's not like we talk to our girlfriends or boyfriends about the sexual activities we have with our spouse. So for that very reason, because there's so much shame and guilt around sex, foreign adversaries targeting American citizens will leverage sexpionage, because they know that if you can get an American politician or an American military engineer or an American intelligence officer to engage in a...
Nick says, just the thought of me having sex with someone will make them give up their secrets. It's the same for me in terms of I could easily be a debt collector or an interrogation expert. All I do would be to talk at them. Talk. And eventually they'd be like, oh, fuck. Here, take the money. Here, have an extra 10,000. Here are all the secrets. Just make her stop talking. Nick, we might very well be both very expert espionage folk. Sexpionage for you, and I can't think of a word. Me.
In a sexual act, you will almost instantly be pulled into their secret life.
Wow. And does that, thinking about how that transpires in the world...
Steph, interesting you say the word honeypot. That line is in my new song. Honeypot. Lol.
In your CIA life, I always think about how that can transpire to a regular person that's listening right now. And so thinking through the power of sex, right? The oxytocin that when you sleep, especially women with the guys, I did this whole interview about oxytocin and the difference of if they're having a one night stand, for instance, a guy can keep having sex and not activate the oxytocin, whereas a woman, apparently over time, the oxytocin starts to release. So even if they were just going to be a one night stand, it actually turned into they fell for the guy. But that's why women fall for guys, and then guys won't fall for the women on one night stands. And so thinking through that, right, thinking through the reality of how women perceive sex and men do, then thinking through how once you've had the sex, you then immediately go into that secret life. I can see how this could be a tool for someone to really almost give themselves over to someone that they maybe shouldn't, or someone they can't trust.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you're hitting on so many important points there. And one of the key points that I want to highlight that you're hitting on that we haven't talked about is it takes a certain recipe of person to even have a one-night stand. Not all people will have one-night stands, right? It takes a certain recipe of person that has to be, if you think about the man who's having sex on the one-night stand, chances are he's probably kissing a lot of frogs trying to find the one-night stand.
I don't reckon he's kissing anyone.
Right? So let's talk about the kind of person that is susceptible to that one-night stand. We're taught at the agency that there are 3 primary sources of energy.
Oh, this is good.
In our
I like
psyche,
this bit.
Right? Cognitively.
Yes.
And that through our life, we'll reprioritize what those energies are, but they're always the same 3. There's creative energy, collective energy, and connection energy. So I'll use my daughter as an example. My daughter is 6 years old. She is I've never seen her so creative. She draws, she dances, she paints, she face paints, and she can go into a corner and spend 2 hours drawing something and come out of that corner energized, because one of the key elements of these 3 energy types is that they increase your energy. So the more time that you are in a creative mode, when you are in a creative energy primacy, the more energy you have coming out of that mode. I don't know what you feel like when you come out after drawing.
Yeah, I feel so energized.
You feel super energized in that creative space. There are other times in our life when we are energized by collective activity, which means you're part of a community. So if you think about people who do social work, you think about people who are community organizers, you think about people who are engaged in anything from the neighborhood watch all the way up to volunteering at their church. These are people who come out of big events, they come out of meetings, they come out of church services energized because they got energy being in a collective environment. They feel like they were part of something larger than themselves, and that energizes them. Creatives feel like they are creating something new, and that energizes them. The third form is called connected energy. Connected energy are people who get energy from deep, intimate connections with one or few other people. We all have all 3. Everybody has some level of connected energy, some level of collected energy, some level of creative energy. But we also are predominantly driven by one form at any given time in our life. If you think back to 16-year-old Lisa, there's a good chance that she was energized by collected energy because she was feeling rejected by the school administrators and the principals and the people that she was bullied by. So when she was accepted by a larger group, it probably gave you a great deal of energy. You were probably also energized by art, and you were probably also energized by, say, a close relationship with mom or dad or somebody else. But you may have predominantly been driven by collective energy. That's certainly what I was like in middle school. I think that's what a lot of people were like in middle school. As we grow into adults, especially when we're young professionals, like 23 to 33, there's an element of collective energy that's fading away as we look for that person we want to connect with. Who's going to be my partner in crime? Who's going to be my go-to? Who's going to be my, Harry and Sally kind of thing, right? Who's going to be that person that I connect with on a deep, intimate level? As we get into our sunset years, as we grow into our late 30s, 40s, into our 50s, we become very, very...
That's sunset years? That should be sunrise years. Come on now. Sorry.
It's sunset in terms of work. Let's say work, right? But as we get to those peak years, those peak productivity years, we are looking for connection. Most of us, we shift into this connected energy phase where now I need a partner that's going to grow old with me, that I can trust, that's going to be there for me when I need someone there. And that person who will sit on a rocking chair and watch the sunset with me, right? That's those connected years. Interestingly, once we get past those years into our 60s and 70s, we turn back towards creative endeavors again. And we start painting and we start listening to music, or we start learning piano or whatever else it might be. We start knitting and we start quilting, whatever else. But
macrame.
My point with all of that is
love.
The
YouTubing.
Ripest person for manipulation is the person who's in the connected energy phase of their life, because that person wants more than anything to connect with somebody else, and that connection energizes them. So when you think about the one-night stand where the woman gets connected to the man and the man doesn't really care, the man is very likely in the collective phase of his energy cycle, and the woman is in the connected phase of her energy cycle. So they're both being energized by the experience, but they're being energized to do 2 different outcomes. She feels like she's connected to someone who she can trust, or someone she wants to trust. He feels like he connected to somebody who's part of his collective, and now he's got 5 girlfriends instead of 4.
So is by that definition then, if you're looking to get on the inside, to go from, let's say, public to private or private to secret in a woman's life, that they're more likely to do it in their older age because they're looking for that connection?
Correct. It's not just women, it's men too. There's that age from about 35 to mid 50s. We're really, really hungry for some sort of connection. And if we don't find the connection romantically, then we will look for the connection through book clubs or through social clubs. My grandmother is in her 80s and she belongs to a bridge club, right? She's looking for connection, even though my grandfather has passed and she lives alone. She's still looking for someone she can connect with. And just romance is no longer the primary reason that she's looking for that connection. She spends the majority of her time creating, right? Drawing, making postcards, taking pictures, making scrapbooks. But the thing that energizes her still is connection.
So if you were looking to, as we're talking about connection and the seduction and the sexpionage, if you were looking, your job was you had to get a female from public to secret, sorry. If you're looking to seduce, or how much of seduction would be a part of that, and then how much of her age then would you look at and determine, or how much of that would be useful to you in determining who you choose to then seduce?
So first of all, connection and seduction are not always the same thing, right? Seduction usually implies sex. Connection doesn't have to imply sex. Oftentimes, connection will have an element of sex.
Pause. As always, I say that. So next week, same time slot, we'll be watching the same girl, Lisa Billieux, talking to Robert Greene, author of The Art of Seduction. And it's a really great chat. It's not just talking about sexy time and shit. It's not just X-rated shit. It's fascinating. It's fascinating that.
But seduction is usually fully sex. So if I had to penetrate into the secret life of a female who I determined had connected energy needs, meaning she would be energized by a connected relationship and she currently doesn't have one that energizes her.
That's what you would look for.
He's very full of his own knowledge and self-assuredness, right, Simi? Yes, agreed. Yes, agreed. Great for an interview. Engaging, captivating, but I also would like to just pull his pants down a little bit. When I worked in the brothel, yes, sex worker, when 20-something-year-old boys would come in and they'd have their pants pulled up like that, up to their calves, sometimes just one. It was a whole fashion thing, like a fashion. And I'd look at them and I'd go, your pants are pulled up, like just giving them shit, because like, pull your fucking pants down. At least he's got socks on. I'm just saying.
Look for.
That's what I would look for, right? Or if somebody were to task me with targeting a female of, say, 43, one of the first things I would look at is she in the connected phase of her energy cycle? Is she in the collective phase of her energy cycle? Is she in the creative phase of her energy cycle? Because to get into that person's secret life, the most important thing is that you have to give them the thing.
Is left good or bad? I don't do dating apps because yuck. Full stop, yuck. It's just not my thing. Yuck. Is swiping left a good thing or a bad thing? Does that mean I would definitely swipe left on this guy? You'd bang him, right? You'd bone him. You'd let him bone you, Steph. You'd give him a good waxing, so to speak.
The thing that they want. And the thing that most everybody wants is energy. They want more hours in the day. They want more time to be awake. They want to be more alert. They want to have someone that's interesting to them, right? So if you know where they are in their energy cycle, you can give them exactly the thing they're looking for, which is energy in the day. That's why we all drink so much caffeine. So if I found a woman who had connected energy.
Also, I love, yes, chat, yes. I mean, maybe the whole sexpionage thing got you all thinking about it. And then you thought, oh, I don't think I could spend much time with him. And suddenly that's all you can think. You can't unsee that shit, right? The shit is already out of the horse. You can't put it back in. You can't unring that bell. But Steph wouldn't say no. Let's see what he says here. This bit, I've lost the, what? It normally says something about something. Oh, it says nah.
Ugly. Sometimes you're pretty, sometimes you're fat. Sometimes,
this is interesting.
sexual component,
motherfucker.
if she's with someone who is truly antisocial personality disorder, oftentimes they will pull back sex. They will pull back intimacy. They will use it as a form of capital to reward or punish
Joey
and get that person to behave in a certain way. So sometimes you're beautiful, sometimes you're ugly. Sometimes you're pretty, sometimes you're fat. Sometimes I'll come on to you.
He's married.
Sometimes I'll reject you when you come on to me. It's a huge lever that exists in manipulative relationships.
You don't know. Look,
when somebody understands that you're looking for
not
connection
yet.
and they use that connection to keep you in line. Again, we're talking about warning flags, right? When somebody makes you feel like everything is your fault, that is a huge warning flag that you are in an abusive relationship with 1 of the 10. 1 out of 10, right? If someone is making you, if they're trying to segregate you or isolate you from friends and family that you've always had, big sign that you're dealing with 1 out of 10. If someone is pulling back intimacy and pulling back love, what you've probably heard is unconditional love. When someone puts conditions on affection, it's a big chance that you're dealing with somebody who is 1 of the 10, narcissist, sociopath, or psychopath, and they're trying to manipulate you. The one caution that I want to throw out there, because it can sound overly simple based on what we just said. I know nobody's sitting here thinking that it's easy, but I don't want women to think that now all of a sudden they can just do 3 things and be safe forever, right? And I definitely don't want women to think that, oh, I'm in a relationship with a guy who doesn't show a lot of emotion, so he must be a psychopath, so I'm going to end this relationship right now. I also want to validate some of the women out there who are like, Andy, my man fits all of your descriptions, but I don't think there's anything wrong with him. There's a lot of misdiagnosis that happens for narcissistic behavior, psychopathic behavior, and sociopathy. And the misdiagnosis is autism. So if you think about all of your antisocial personality disorders and you put them on a spectrum, parallel to that spectrum is the autism spectrum.
Let's not grab our pitchforks and our flaming torches with what is said next. It's kind of okay. It's very binary.
And autism and parents of autistic children are oftentimes worrying or studying, is my child a psychopath? Does my child have an antisocial personality disorder, or are they autistic?
Wow.
Because the behaviors can oftentimes appear the same way. And it's critical for us in the field as well to know whether we're dealing with somebody who's on the autism spectrum, ASD, versus somebody who's on the narcissistic spectrum, right? NPD.
I understand that he needs to say, or feels like he needs to say, ASD as part of his acronyms for this story, this example. I don't like it because I don't consider autism to be a disorder, and I don't think that many mental health / medical professionals these days do either, if they're up with the times. Just saying.
PD. So we're always trying to make sure that we isolate and understand who we're dealing with. That doesn't mean that autistic people look and sound like sociopaths or psychopaths.
I'm typing to a Joe, but it's not flex back.
The reason that the behaviors they have can overlap are for completely different reasons, right? But the big thing to keep in mind is that when you are dealing with somebody who seems like they are not emotional,
neither, Joey,
or when you're dealing with somebody who has huge changes in emotion, because remember, psychopaths seem cold-blooded, sociopaths very volatile. So if you're dealing with somebody who exhibits either of those behaviors, you might also be dealing with somebody who's on the autistic spectrum. And what you have to recognize is that if they are autistic, then their primary emotion is frustration.
Stop.
Interesting.
Because autism makes it difficult for...
Disagree, strongly disagree. I'm autistic, sir. My primary emotion isn't frustration at all. Maybe it's because I'm 50. I mean, I'm often frustrated, but it's not because I'm autistic. It's because, fuck's sake. Ahimsa, interesting you say that. This video made me go, wow, I thought I had my senses heightened before this. Things have been kind of wild for me in the last 3 or 4 months, 5, 6 months. And next minute I'm watching this going, well, for fuck's sake. Now, like Ahimsa says, I'm side-eyeing even more than before, and I didn't know that was possible. I'm going to need a wine after this. Should I have a wine before or after I record my video to Flexi? Yikes! Not even shitting myself.
For people to communicate.
How can I be concise and eloquent and like articulate? I'm going to choose a top to wear and
And it makes it difficult for people to understand what you're trying to communicate with them. So when they get angry, if they get angry, it's coming from a place of frustration. They're not calling you stupid. They're not calling you fat. They're not calling you ugly. They're saying, I don't understand. It seems so simple to you. It doesn't make sense to me. That's where they're coming from. When you hear stuff like,
here's one for you.
You're overreacting and
do that.
You're taking it the wrong way, or why are you so sensitive? Now that's gaslighting. That's somebody saying there's something wrong with you.
There's going to be a hell of a lot of mansplaining at dinner, Steph. We're going to know all about everything that he knows about, aren't we? Yes.
When you're dealing with someone with autism, they're coming from a place of frustration.
Whether we want to or
they're not coming from a place of cruelty or victimization
Fair.
or emotional abuse.
Fair.
When you see those signs, you know you're dealing with somebody that has antisocial personality disorder. Even though the behaviors might seem the same, the content of what they're arguing with you about is very different.
Cheese, wine.
Now, that's for ASPD. The thing that's commonly misunderstood for narcissistic personality disorder or narcissism is Asperger's. Asperger's is currently something that doesn't clinically exist.
Thank you.
It's a term that's still a holdover from the early 2000s.
Thank you.
But what Asperger's means is that somebody doesn't fit in well in society. It's recognized now as a high-performing version of autism. If somebody is a high-performing autistic, then they are claimed to have Asperger's. They have empathy. They can make decisions. They understand rules and law and order, right? All the things that don't exist in a psychopath.
Those weirdos, those Asperger autistic folk, those, dirty pause, ASD folk. Yeah. This would be the one where you go, ooh, did I hang that washing out before I left? I think I need to cut my toenails. Sir, I'm so sorry. He's got a lot of good insights. He just likes telling us all. We've learned some stuff.
In an Asperger's person, all those things exist.
Don't use Asperger's.
But they have a difficulty fitting into society. So what they...
Like I said, just walk and talk chat. We're getting there.
Try to do is emulate society.
They're aware of it enough, and they're aware that it doesn't serve them to what they're trying to get, so they can fake it knowing full well what they're doing.
And because they're faking it, and in that faking process, they're always looking to be validated.
Okay.
They're faking it.
Bye. Thanks, mate. Nick, there's no need to be smug. There's no need to be smug. Okay. You were definitely right. That's it. Bye, mate. Thanks for your insights. Exactly.
Good for them. I'm happy. But I just want to make sure that I am still held in the highest esteem of the system. It's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
Oh my God, so funny. Okay, so wine after. I might have a glass poured and I might raise a glass for Joe. He probably doesn't drink wine. He probably only drinks protein shakes and pre-workout. And lots of water. He's always guzzling water because he's hot in his jacket. I prefer listening to Nick. Well, paint me like one of your French girls, Nick. Is that what you say? Okay. So chat. That, it's so funny. So we've started a journey on learning about a lot of things. Why some women are more likely to be, I was going to say held over, but that sounds kind of fun. Preyed upon, targeted by, open to. Remember, if we wind it back like 69 years to the start with Dr. Ramani, and she was talking about why narcissists target open people. And also, why do you keep attracting narcissists? And then I feel like maybe this last guy could be a narcissist. He definitely knows a lot of stuff, and we learned some of it. So thank you, shorties. Joey's getting us back on track. Make sure you smash the like. People have. Oh, hi, Tim. So that's it for this weekend's Camp Shorty. It's dumb how it ends like that. We've only done like 84 years worth of live streaming this weekend. Thank you so much, moderators. Thank you so much, chat. I hope you like the new musical interludes format. I know I do. I'm just going to go and like lose my ever-loving mind because Joe Flex back, and I've got a lot of things on my list. What's probably going to happen, like knowing me, is that I won't get really any of them done, and then I'll have Jerry busting my balls like, boss, we've really got to get on top of this. I'm like, yes, I got to hear my laundry. Chat is Bay again. Yes, Nick, it's programmed in as being the outro video. It's good, isn't it? I love you all very much. Very, very much. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Go to bed or not if you're in Australia. I mean, if you want. Nick's probably already lounging on the day bed with definitely not figs, but some sort of very expensive cheese. Definitely not any Aldi wine. He wants you to know he knows a lot. There it is. Thank you, LB. I'm excited. I didn't really like that guy. Well, colours, you don't like boobs either. I don't know if that's a fair representation of chat. Thank you very much being here, Lisa and Shorties. Y'all amazing, and I love you. We love you too. What the fuck? I'm sorry you felt a little lacking in spoons. I'm not going to be thirsty. I'm a consummate professional. Do you realize that I interviewed? Well, I didn't really. I sat there like pulling my hair out with Aidan Turtleboy Carney. At that time, I was extraordinarily thirsty for Mr. Carney, and I managed to restrain myself, although it's all relative, and I looked very moderate in comparison to my co-interviewer. Just saying, hey, Vixie, you're still awake. Go to bed. Nick, you're still the Camp Shorty honeypot. No worries. I think that's a fair assessment. Absolutely. Thank you. What? It's all done? Yes, colours. It's all done. I don't know what I can say. Probably many more things, but I'm going to save it. I think you may have... I think I may have some brekkie. Yes. Didn't you say cake before? Cake's always a bit disappointing, right? You think it sounds like a great idea, and it's often a bit dry, unless you've got big, thick frosting. And then it's delicious. Hey, I love you all very much. See you next Camp Shorty. See you around. See you in WordSeek. Counting? Oh, I can only wink with one eye. Mwah. Love ya very, very much.
I love you all so very much. We had a blast just chatting and stuff. Things may have gone a bit off the rails. Professional when all else fails. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. We're skating through all the tough things, learning about this and that, defense motions, prosecution, and narcissistic twats. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the all caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. Community, just you and me. Occasionally, Buster and Poppy. It's the whole thing, Miss Shorty swing. Together we make each other happy. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. I love you all very, very